So thanks for coming, everybody. Great night. It's a pretty night. We went from what, 10 degrees to 60 degrees in a matter of 3 days, 4 days. It's crazy, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
So anyway, before we start, I want to say thank you to a couple people. First of all, one of our normal guys, Mark. You know, when he's done his conversation over there. Mark, he works with Mikasa Title. He owns Mikasa Title, and he's been a proud sponsor for how many years? Several. It's probably been more than a decade. So Mark's contributed to this, so thank you to Mark. And then my other sponsor, new guy tonight, new sponsor. Where's Steve at? Where you at? Steve Wolf over here, Wolf Insurance. And he does a great job with what he does. And you know, I refer a lot of business to Steve, so Steve's going to help out tonight as well. So if you guys need any help with either one of these two guys, I highly recommend them. You know, so good stuff. So last time, what did we talk about last time? Anybody remember what we talked about last time? Huh? Garden. Actually, I'm trying to remember exactly what we talked about. But for those who are new here, usually I tell a story, whether it could be educational, it could be inspirational, or just a personal story that might have an impact on you. So, I know what we talked about last time. I did a little skydiving. We talked a little bit about that. Didn't we talk about that? And so I'm going to start with that. And that's not planned. It just came to my mind. So back in July, my son and I, we went skydiving. First time I've ever done that. First time he's ever done it. You and your son are in a plane. You're going up in a plane. We go up to 10,000 feet, and you're jumping out of a plane. And when they opened, like I was the first one out, they opened the door, and I'm looking down. I'm like, I got 10,000 feet below me in this plane right now, and I'm there. It's like we're gone. So we jump out of the plane. You know, we land. I get there. I got to land first, and I look up, and my son, he's coming down. You know, I don't know if you say there's not a prouder moment or there's not a more joy-filled moment than watching your son land after jumping out of a plane for 10,000 feet, you know, and like it's like overcoming those fears that a lot of us have. So when we landed, we like looked at each other and we ran up to each other, gave each other this big hug, but we didn't say anything. And it was emotional, but like we just couldn't like get the words out. And we get in the car, we're driving back we did this down Ocean City, we're driving back to the condo, and I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, Dad, I'm speechless. And I'm like, I am too. But we were both like choked up in the moment because it was just special, it was really special. So for the next several months, we would go out, family events here and there, and people would say, hey, Robbie, what was it like? And he couldn't put it into words what that feeling was like. And he struggled with it. And people would ask me, and I'd just say, you know, it was awesome, but it was hard to put words unless you do it yourself. Anybody ever jump out of a plane here before? Great stuff, just great stuff. So fast forward a little bit, you know, this was in July, so at the end of August, we send him off to college. And as you know, I'm a big reader. And I sent him off with a couple books, the first of which was As a Man Thinketh, and we talked about that last time, because remember, it was gardening, and it was gardening because he asked me a question about the first paragraph on chapter 2. That's what it was. So As a Man Thinketh, and then another book that I sent them off with was Training Camp. Anybody familiar with Training Camp by John Gordon, except my team? Anybody familiar with it? So Training Camp is a book about an individual. He was an undrafted free agent in the NFL, and he's got to make this team. And in the process, you know, there's people that have been drafted higher, and he's just a walk-on, so to speak. So they have their first exhibition game, and the guy lights it up. He scores 2 touchdowns, but at the end of the game, he sprains or twists his ankle, and he didn't really tell anybody right away because he's already at a disadvantage because there's draft picks higher than him and a couple running backs that were vying for the same job. So I'm going to freeze that right now. I'm going to ask you to stay with me. I'm going to go back and forth here to different places. I'm going to bring it all together at the end. So so I send him off with that book, and he would read a little bit and then put it down, read a little bit, put it down. Now, it was about the first week of December, he starts texting me. And he says, Dad, he goes, I'm really liking the book. I'm like, great. And he's like, I'm learning from it. I'm into it. And Robbie typically doesn't like to read like my daughter does. And I'm like, okay, this is great. My son's getting into it. He picked up something that he likes. So now at the same time, we're in the second week of December, I say to myself, I want to pick a word for the year. Like every year I pick a word. And we did it as a team exercise later in the year last year. So in the beginning of December, first week of December, I'm like, I'm going to pick the word surrender. surrender was going to be my word for the year. Now, the idea of picking a word for the year is you focus on that word. You focus on that word, and everything you do every day, things come up, things happen, and whether it's gratitude or, where did I find gratitude in my day? Where did I find joy in my day? Where was there any authenticity in my day? And the girls are laughing over here because I'm picking their words. Dina's believe. If my words believe, what came up today that's going to cause me to work on my belief system? So, for instance, anybody ever pray for patience? And when you pray for patience, what happens? Bad things? You get. So I'm going to say you get opportunities. You get opportunities to work on your patience. So sure enough, I picked the word surrender, and like within 2-3 hours of that picking it, I was like, why did I pick this word? So I pick it like on this given night. The next morning I wake up, and it was that real cold week of December we had. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning, and I get a text. Rob, the heating's not working at the rental property. I'm like, okay, I guess this is my first signal to surrender. Just let it go, and whatever it is, it is. I got to deal with it, fix it, pay for it, whatever. Going to the office. It was a week. I think I think it was 5 deals were on the fringe of falling apart, and I'm getting calls left and right. I'm like, oh my God! I mean, the heating's going up. I got 5 deals falling apart. Stressed out about this. Stressed out about it. I'm like, God, I'm trying to surrender here, but I wasn't asking for that much this soon, And I'm like, bring it on, because I'm just going to have to work with this, deal with it. And when something comes my way, just be in a state of flow, be in a state of allowing. That's what it's like. So surrender to it. Not just wave up the white flag and quit, just be in a state of allowing. So go through that, call my wife up. I'm like, you're not going to believe what happened. I picked this word surrender, and my phone's ringing off the hook, and this is happening, that's happening. I'm pulling my hair out, And she goes, you can do it, honey, you'll be fine. So get home and trying to eat, relax, and it's about time to go to bed. I'm sitting on the couch. I'm like, I got to take a chill pill here. My wife goes, you all right? I'm like, I'm fine. She starts going up to bed. My phone rings. Rob, you got a leak in the ceiling at this other rental you have. And I just shook my head and I laughed. I'm like, I can't make this stuff up, So that's what's happening there in the moment. So in the meantime, Robbie, he starts to text me again. He goes, Dad, you gotta pick up this book. You gotta look into this book. And I'm like, I've already read it. And he sends me a text. He says, Dad, can you read page 152? Turn to page 152 and read it for me. So sure enough, I call him up and say, can you talk? So I call him up, and I got the book in front of me, because he texted me a picture of what he highlighted. I got the book in front of me, and I'm reading this section. And so what happened, this guy, I'm going back to the book now, the story in the book. So this guy, he sprained his ankle. So he's got 3 weeks left to figure out if he's going to make the team or not, find out if he's going to make the team. So it's going to take 2 weeks to heal this thing. So he's going to the trainer every morning, and he's going to the assistant coach. Now, the assistant coach is like a life guy, a personal growth guy. And he's going to him every day, and he's talking him up, because this guy's like, he's really stressed out. He's like, I got to make this team. And why does he have to make the team? Not just to say I'm an NFL player. He's got to make this team because his mom's sick. She needs a heart transplant, and he's got to make the NFL so he gets the money to pay for a heart transplant. So he's got this stress on the back of his mind. So all the while, he's trying to get better. He's trying to get better. He's got these negative vibes coming at him in his mind. He goes to this guy, Coach Ken. He's the assistant coach. And he's talking to him every day, and the guy's trying to boost his morale, trying to boost his confidence, say, look, you're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. You just got to fight through this. So now it's the last week of training camp. His ankle heals up. He goes out, and he has a stellar game in Game 4. Now, the guy he was competing with also had a stellar game. So he's thinking, wow, this guy was he was a draft pick, and I'm a walk-on. As it turns out, they both make the team. So he's elated, and of course you would think the assistant coach knows, right? So he's elated about it, and the next morning he can't wait to go talk to the assistant coach who's helped him through this life situation. In fact, the coach, he created this playbook, not a football playbook, but a playbook of life. So he can't wait to go in and talk to the guy. So he runs to the office, goes to knock on the door, and the door's locked. And everybody's walking around in a real somber mood. And when he found out, his Coach Ken had a heart attack the night before and died. So he's devastated. He's devastated. So he goes back to his room, and he's looking through the playbook, and he's reminiscing about the last 4 weeks and what's happened, and that he's made the NFL, and he's going to be able to help his mother out and whatnot. And he takes the playbook with him, and he goes to the beach. So he's at the beach, and he's watching the waves crash on shore. And he's standing there, takes his clothes off, except for his bathing suit, of course. It wasn't a new beach. Anyway, he takes his clothes off, and he's looking at the waves, and he thinks about everything that's happened over the last 4 weeks, and he goes rushing into the water and dives into the wave and comes up, and he feels exhilarated. He feels alive again, born again. He worked hard, he got hurt, he worked through it, he made the team, and he's there. So I'm reading this with Robbie on the phone, and I finish reading, and he goes, Dad, he goes, that's what I felt like. I haven't been able to put that in words in 3 or 4 months, but I wanted you to know that's what I felt when I landed that day. I'm like, dude, that is really cool. That is so cool, and I appreciate you sharing that with me. And I started talking to him a little bit, and I could hear him getting choked up on the other end of the line. This meant a lot to this kid, 19-year-old kid. It meant a huge amount to him that he was able to now understand what this meant to him. So now I've read this book 7 years ago, and I'm like, maybe it's time for me to pick this book up again, because every time you read a book, second or third time, you're going to pick something else up. Now I'm already reading a book, and I'm regimented. Every morning I'm reading, 20 minutes I'm reading, and I didn't want to break away from the book I was reading. So I'm like, all right, I've read the book before. I'll pick it up at night or before I go to bed, and I'll read about 5 or 10 pages until I get through it, and I'll be all right doing that. So it was Saturday morning, I guess the second or third Saturday in December. My son had just come home the night before, and I get up, and not that you need to know this, but I get up, it's like, 5, 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. I do what every other guy does when he gets up in the morning, go to the bathroom, right? And so I walk in the bathroom, and I come out. And what I had planned in my day for that day was this: my Saturday was pretty clear and free, and I wanted to do a really good workout. I wanted to meditate. I wanted to plan some business stuff out a little bit. And I'm fired up, right? But as I'm walking back from the bathroom, the bed's here, the exit's here to go to my home office, and my nightstand's over here. And I'm walking to the door, and I just feel this urge. I feel this urge to go pick up the book. And I'm talking to myself, I don't want to read that book right now. It's going to break my heart. I'm not reading that book. I want to get done what I want to get done. So I take a few steps to the door, and something's telling me, read the book. Pick the book up. I'm like, I don't want to read the book. So I go back, I'm like, okay, let me get the book. So I go get the book, and I go sit in my room where first I usually meditate. I'm sitting in my chair, and I start reading. So I'm just planning to read for about 5 or 10 minutes, 5 pages, like I said before. Next thing you know, I'm 30 pages in, and I couldn't put the book down. And as I'm reading, I get to this part. It's called the breakthrough in the book. And as he's going through, what happens is Martin, the guy's name's Martin, running back. As he was working through that process at that 2 or 3 week time frame where he was struggling, he would go in and talk to Coach Ken. And one day, Coach Ken says to him, he says, Martin, he goes, what's your deepest fear? He goes, my deepest fear is that I don't make this football team. And Coach Ken goes, that's bullcrap. It's deeper than that. Come back to me when you figure out what your deepest fear is. So he goes back, another couple of days later, he's reading through all this personal growth stuff, comes back and he goes, Coach Ken, I got it. I didn't want to share this with anybody. I didn't want any self-pity, but I know what my deepest fear is. And Coach Ken says, what? He goes, my deepest fear is that if I don't make this team, I don't make money to pay for my mother's heart transplant and she dies. That's pretty deep, right? And Coach Ken says, bullcrap. It's deeper than that. It's deeper than that. And he says to Martin, he goes, look, he goes, if you don't make this team and you don't earn the money and your mom dies, what happens? He goes, I got nobody to love me. I got nobody to love me. And Coach Ken's talking to Martin. He goes, Martin, he goes, a human being's deepest fear, most human beings' deepest fear is they're not loved, or they feel like they're not lovable. So I'm reading this, and as I'm reading this, guess what's going on in Rob's mind? Guess what's going on in Rob's cheeks? He's got tears running down his face, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this book is talking to me. Because think about it, and I don't know if any of you do it. I'd assume some of you, if not all of you, do this. How many people pleasers do we have in here? How many people pleasers do we have in here? There's a lot of us, right? And those who don't have our hand up, you please people some way, shape, or form, trust me. And I got to thinking as I'm reading, remember the message is about being loved. And I'm thinking, how many things in my life have I done in fear of what somebody might say, in fear of how somebody might react, in fear of not being accepted, in fear of really not being loved. And I'm like, the tears are flowing. They're flowing. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this has happened. I can't get my day started, right? And then so I'm crying. So I'm like, I sat there for a second, and then I got on my hands and knees, and I started bawling. And I'm like, my word was surrender, right? And I'm like, what I'm being asked to do is surrender. Surrender to the moments that are at hand, surrender to whatever life is, and not worry about what other people think and how other people react to what I do or who I am, you know? And I'm like sitting, I'm like, just give me the strength and give me the courage to do your will. Give me the strength and give me the courage to do what I'm supposed to do and be the best me that I could be. And I sat there, I said, it's about 10 minutes, and I'm not talking about, I mean, it was one of those cries where you're like, it was one of those cries, and I'm serious, man. I'm being totally transparent with you here. And I'm like, so it took a few minutes, and I'm like, took a deep breath, and I'm like, light bulb goes off. And I'm like, oh my gosh. If you guys, some of you don't know, like I'm in the process of writing a book for the last 17 years. And I'm really close to being done. And I just submitted the last edits to the editor about 2 weeks ago. But I'm like, this light bulb goes off. I'm like, the title right now as it stands is A Pathway to Peace. And my last chapter is Interior Freedom. And I'm like, when will I feel free inside? When I know I'm loved. How many human beings will really feel free inside when they know they're loved? And I'm like, I got this urge of energy. I jumped up, I'm like, I'm gonna finish my last chapter right now. Right now. I jumped up, I got behind my desk, and I got the laptop open, and I'm like, I got tears running down my cheeks, like, I can't forget what I just did. I just can't forget what happened, you know? And I'm typing away, you know? And I'm like, oh my God, this is it. This is gonna put closure on the book. And then my son knocks on the door, sticks his head in, and goes, good morning. I'm like, good morning, Robbie. I'm like, what are you doing? He goes, I'm going to the bathroom. What do guys usually do in the morning? You know? I said, when you're done, come on in. So he goes to the bathroom, comes back. I said, sit down in the chair. And I said, Robbie, I said, 5 years ago, you went up to Boston and you went to a leadership conference. And he comes back from the conference, and he's got the guts to come up to me one night and say, Dad, I need to talk to you. And he says, Dad, he goes, I could see how anxious he was to have this conversation. And he says, Dad, he goes, I got to stop living a parent-centered life. I got to start living a principle-centered life. And like my chin hits the floor, I'm like, what did you just say? He goes, I can't continue to live a parent-centered life. I'm like, what does that mean? Tell me what that means to you. And he says, Dad, it means I can't keep doing everything to please you and Mom. I got to start doing things that are good for me and that please me, that I find fulfillment in. And I was speechless. I'm like, dude, I'm proud of you. He goes, I'm like, that's big. He was like 14 years old at the time. I'm like, that is huge. So he's sitting in the chair. And I said, Robbie, I said, let me ask you, when you were talking about stop living that parent-centered life, or when you were living that parent-centered life, what was your fear? And he said, I was afraid that I was going to disappoint you. And I looked at him, and I said, Robbie, I said, bullshit, it's deeper than that. And he goes, wait a minute. I said, Robbie, okay, I get it. You know, you feel like you're going to disappoint us. So what does that mean? If you felt like you were disappointing us, what does that mean to you? And he says, like, that I'd be letting you down. I'm like, Robbie, bullshit. It's deeper than that. And he looks at me with this puzzled face, right? And now he's sitting down. He's sitting on an angle, and I'm over here, and he's sitting on an angle, and he's got his hands on his knees, and he's thinking. And I said, Robbie, I said, if you felt you were disappointing us, and if you felt you were letting us down, what were you really feeling? He's like this, and he looks up. He said that I wouldn't be loved. He said that I wouldn't be loved. And the tears started gushing again. I'm like, dude, you got it. You got it. You know, and that's what this thing is all about, man. He goes, it's about being loved. I said, it's about the fear of not being loved. And so the tears start running down my cheeks again. He gets up, he comes over to me and goes, Dad, you need a hug, right? So I wrap my arms around him, right? And he gives me this big hug, man. And I'm like, thank you. And he goes, no, thank you, Dad. I'm proud of you. So how many times does a father give the son a hug? My little son was giving me a hug because I needed it right there. And I looked at him, and I said, Robbie, I said, I want you to think about this. Everything affects everything. We talked about this 6 months, 9 months ago. Everything we do affects everything. And I said, Robbie, I said, you took these books away to college with you. You chose to pick up one of the books. You chose to start reading. You had a breakthrough. You called me up and you wanted to share it with me. And in sharing it with me, I decided to pick up the book again and read it. And because I decided to pick up the book and read it again, I had my moment this morning. And because I had that moment this morning, I'm sitting here in front of a laptop finishing off what I think is the last chapter of my book. And because all this happened, you and I just had this conversation, and now we know what our deepest fears are. And if you didn't call me, if you didn't pick up that book on your own, this might not have happened tonight or today. And do you realize how powerful that is? So as we sit here, think about what your deepest fears are. And I'm going to call bullcrap on whatever you tell me until you tell me it's about being loved. No, I'm joking. Think about what your deepest fears are. Think about why you're not doing things. Think about what's holding you back from living the life you're supposed to live. Think about what's holding you back from being the person you're supposed to be. And think about, look, this is a business networking thing, and you might be thinking, I'm going to a business networking thing, and this guy's preaching the gospel, I don't know. But it's all relative, man. It's all relative. Every bit of it's relative. And we could take this story I just told you, you could take it to your workplace every day. You can take it to your workplace, like I go to work, what's going to happen, tomorrow at work? Maybe I need to surrender to it. Maybe I need to pause for a minute and think about it. Am I doing something at work because I'm afraid of not being liked or loved for that matter? Am I not doing something because of that fear? We all have it in us, we got some kind of semblance of that in us. So think about that. Think about what's going on in your everyday life. Think about it and understand, man, everything, I can't make this stuff up. I can't make it up. And there's I call it the Spirit is hovering over our heads in everything we do. And things happen because they're supposed to happen. And because they happen because of things we do. It's like that ripple effect. Throw a pebble in a pond, it just ripples out.